Hello, everybody. I did not get up the video, our intro video, in time. I'm going to go ahead and find a way to do that right now. Be right back. Just please feel free to enjoy the. Yeah, it's not even working. All right, we're gonna cancel. We're gonna skip out of the video today. That's a shame because I like to start the stream off with the video. It gets people kind of into the understanding what we are and what we do. But this is strange. It is not letting me. It's not behaving like it's supposed to, and I'm getting warnings. All right, let's get right into it. We got a lot to cover tonight, anyways. There's a lot going on in the world, and in the world of gaming, in the world of cloud gaming, in the world of just data center stuff. This just before I jumped online, I took a look at the this one story that kind of came across my feed, and I was like, that seems unreasonable, but turns out to be true. So we're going to take a look at that article a little bit, and again, it's local and it's bothersome, but it really can affect everybody. So pay attention to that last story. It's a little bit of a shocker. If you're getting a beeping sound, it's because one of the links I have up. We're going to go through these links. One of the links I have up is really crunching my system. So let me know if you can hear that beep, and I'll try to do my best to hide it from y'all. Okay. First things first, we like to throw up some Walter images to show everybody what the community has been working on, for helping to spread the word. And oh, that's why. Here we go. I'm going to bring up, there you go. So we've had a lot of entries this week. Let me swap that around. A lot of entries this week that were video entries. Love the idea of people using it. So what we do is basically say to the community, Walter's our mascot. He is a slightly overweight, rust-colored gorilla. He wears blue jeans and a white T-shirt that says YOM. And there you go. There's Walter right there with the round blue tinted sunglasses. So go ahead and generate your own Walter images. We tell everybody, and we'll get your image up there. And this is what we got entries like this one. This is a great one. I really appreciate this. Is from Anna Rochelle. Actually, Anna Rochelle's or Gadget B, if you're looking for on X, put in a whole bunch of different suggestions or submissions this week. So another one. There we go. It seems to be a lot to do with driving, and Walter behind the wheel of a lot of cars, kind of simulating a driving game, which I appreciate because I'm a driving game fanatic myself. I played a lot of Gran Turismo, a lot of Stuntman. I just love the driving games. I haven't played Forenza 6, but my son's playing a ton of that, and he's unlocked every car in the world. We even got him the stick shift and the steering wheel. So there's Walter, playing games and enjoying himself. That was another great submission. Appreciate that. Gadget B. The third one, I think, was also Gadget B, right? I think it was. Yeah, this one here. Now, I recognize that not everyone can go out and get computer credits, AI credits to crank this up out. As a matter of fact, the story I'm going to go through at the end kind of is like, it's okay if not everybody takes advantage of AI in this way because of what it's meaning to some communities. Another great submission, though. I appreciate it. Walter and his army going and discovering YOM and the profitability, which we expect is going to be forthcoming. Nice. That's not Walter there, though. Walter is a rust-colored gorilla. And again, slightly overweight, which I guess that kind of suits. And then the last one, while we wait for people to find the stream, this one, to my mind, was the best of the submissions we got this week. And not because I just love the feel of it. It looks kind of like I was a big Planet of the Apes fan, both the older versions and the newer ones. Even the Tim Burton one, I wasn't really offended by that one either. Great Walter playing games, and really Walter will be playing games like this all the time. All right. So that was the best submission we had this week, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, the guys they're getting on the case of having a quest for generating your own Walter image and submitting it. So that's coming up soon. You'll see that quest dropping. Let's. I probably should jump into to talk about it since I'm talking about questioners, and let's take a look at the leaderboard and the network and see how it's performing. So right now, the network we've got. Right now, we got an average of 26 millisecond latency, which again is pretty good. Getting under 30 is what the goal always is. Actually, we've been able to pull off under 7 for some people streaming in certain places. So that average of 26 is feeling pretty good. You'll see that again. We got a lot of nodes up in North America, a lot up in Europe. Our South American one is down for the night, but that that's easily understandable. Reaching all the way out to Australia. Our India node is down this week as well. But these are all upgraded to V2, so the network has gotten more powerful and more streams are happening. I've got the wrong side there. So let's get out of that too, since that might be the one. Oh, let's talk about the quests. So here we are now. The leaderboard for this week, Gorilla has jumped up. A lot of climbing happening from this fellow over here, doing very well. So you can see that if you just go to app.yom.net and see the quest, you'll see how the people are shaping up and how the week is going. This is the full. We should probably look at only this week, huh? In this week's top leaderboard, actually, Gorilla's still there at the top. Crypto Surfing doing very well. This is a very familiar name for us. Dominique 12 and Stratzviz. Using vowels is not against the rules. You could use vowels in your username. We wouldn't be offended. But Stratvitz is also placing there number three. Moving up very quickly. All right. So if you're not familiar, the way that we do this is on. Man, that is annoying. We do 2 town halls a week. On Mondays on Wednesdays we really focus on the industry, what the industry is doing, and on Friday we focus on a lot of what the project has done, and we bring in a guest, generally from the project team, but sometimes from an outside partner. I bet you it's this one right here. There is a lot of articles to go over this week, and one of these articles is maxing out my, what they're doing? They're throwing a whole bunch of ads up on their article for some strange reason, and it's really pulling up my uninterruptible power supply is having a hard time as it's pulling a lot of juice to get one of these ad rolls out. It's super annoying. Let me go through the articles, and we'll try to determine which one it is that's pinging me so hard. Are you guys hearing that beep? Anyone who's in the crowd who's listening right now, I'm looking at the chats right now. Are you guys hearing that beep, or is it only just me who's hearing it? Because I would love if my microphone is not picking it up, but I got a feeling that it is. And the re-stream of this is going to be super annoying to everybody. There, it's going off right now. Do you guys hear a beep or no? All right, I'm not getting anything from anybody. All right, let's go to this first article. First, GeForce Now, they have confirmed that GeForce Now had a breach in their security. It wasn't at the main, wasn't their main database, but it was in Armenia. Apparently, one of their subcontractors in Armenia had an opening, and people's user data, their emails, their contact information. I don't think their credit cards necessarily were stolen, but a lot of information, identifiable information, was stolen from this from GeForce Now. This, of course, leads to the issue of centralized data centers and how dangerous this can be. Dismiss that. And we don't necessarily have a hard time with. We don't try to give GeForce Now a hard time. We use NVIDIA cards ourselves, so we feel like no sense in throwing them under the bus. But if they're having problems, again, and they do, because it's centralized, it's very easy to go in there and steal like massive amounts of data. And it's certainly a concern that anyone who's going to the cloud for their gaming experience, they should be concerned that these breaches can happen. That was not the article that's pinging my power supply. So let's go into the next one then. Next one was about, so it was a trends article talking about the gaming industry from Gaming Industry News. Let me switch this over here and talk about Gaming Industry News. Has been around for a long time. They're fairly well understood as a leading force in gaming industry news. And this article kind of dropped a couple of different points that I wanted to point out for what it means for us, for YOM. The first trend they were seeing is that mobile gaming, or gaming on mobile devices, getting more and more popular. Again, this is great for us because the YOM network can stream to a mobile device. But it does speak to the fact that people are trying to get their gaming experiences to be wherever they are and on devices that they have access to. And not everyone's got the high-powered gaming machine, but nearly everyone in the world's got a phone at this point. So being able to play these, really good experiences on a phone is important. But getting a good streaming service to work on your phone is hard to do. This is why we're working so hard to make sure that our network is as spread out and as fast as possible, including streaming these AAA quality games on your mobile device. Second thing the article points out is that shorter game times. So short experiences, people are rushed. And we said this before, based on the Matthew Ball report, that where the gaming industry is losing the attention war, or at least it's bleeding out to things like TikTok and Instagram and these shorter experiences that people are engaging with. And so the gaming industry is losing. So to compensate, right, the gaming industry is saying, okay, we have to make short game content too. The problem that is happening is that even with short game content, you still have to do the download and install steps that stop people from playing the games that, that these publishers and developers are releasing. When you can publish those games on a website, on a URL, and it's as simple as dropping a link to your buddy and having them play, which is the way the YOM system works, these shorter game times become much more accessed. The user acquisition barrier is dropped to the floor because it's a matter of sending a link. It's similar to just going to a YouTube video or an Instagram video, because the link is live on any URL available through your phone, that kind of thing. So that sort of shorter game sessions, that becomes an important point. And then it does talk about how cloud gaming is also considered one of the essentials that's happening. People are getting into cloud gaming more and more. So I gotta find which article this is doing this. Let me drop that one out. So again, all this stuff is kind of saying that a decentralized cloud is going to take over. Let me jump into the Nintendo news, because maybe it's this article that's pinging my power supply. So Nintendo, again, we talked about last week, they raised the price of the Switch 2, which is just not something that happens generally when you have a console in its later part of its lifespan. Usually what happens is they drop the price at the end of the lifespan so that they get those last people who have been holding out on buying that hardware. But, and we've talked about this in the past too, with the price of hardware, RAM and memory and GPUs going up and up and up, Nintendo, along with all the others, is facing the crunch of how do we get, how do we still be able to ship without taking too much of a loss? So they're raising the prices, not just on the Switch 2, but also, and this is the part that I kind of want to point out, it's new information for me, they're raising the price of their subscription service and their back end stuff. This is, again, they're tying it to, well, our data centers themselves and all of our operations are affected by the hardware increases prices, not just the hardware that we ship to users, not just the Switch 2, but their in-house, all their development hardware is also going up in price. So they're having to make up for that. And to do so, they're raising their subscription fees for all the subscription services. This is mostly in Japan and those kinds of places. But again, it speaks to how price changes are universal, and it's going to become harder and harder to game. The barriers are going to keep on going up and up and up and stopping people from gaming, when in reality, what the industry has to do is drop those barriers and get more people to play with less costs, right? So 20 different products that they're hiking the price to. It's not just the Switch 2 that got brought in price. And despite all of that, what Nintendo is saying is they don't know that they're going to make their profits for this quarter. They're lowering their expectations. Now, Nintendo generally lowers their expectations. They feel like this is a good strategy before earnings calls to say that they're going to be making less, and then they can, beat their expectations. They're a conservative company in that way. But if they're correct and they drop their expectations, this is something that anybody who's a Nintendo fan should be aware of and be concerned about, because market conditions, they keep on saying, is affecting not just the hardware, but also their operating costs. All right, let's drop that article. Let's find out what the next one is. Maybe this is the one. And it could be this very next article. So pre-orders for Grand Theft Auto 6. Are there really pre-orders? I went all over the place looking for this because everyone was talking about it. It turns out what happened was a retailer in Greece dropped a pre-order page onto their website. They basically said, hey, we're going to set up this site so that when the pre-order sites go, when you can pre-order, you could jump into their site and order. This is only in Greece. And that got everyone buzzed up. But what people are talking about is the earnings call for Take-Two is coming up later on this week. Well, it's supposed to happen within this month. And having the pre-orders out around that time is helpful to their to all the news. They want to kind of have a lot of buzz around them. And certainly Grand Theft Auto 6 has got a lot of buzz around it. A lot of people just kind of waiting for it. So there's really it's all rumor mill still, but it's rumor mill based on this Greek retailer who opened up a pre-sale website. So don't get too hyped yet. When it does, when GTA 6 pre-order goes on sale, I'm sure, or it goes up, I'm sure you're going to hear about it from every place, including for myself. I'm looking forward to it. I watched the last couple of trailers, and it really just looks amazing. All right, the big story I was going to focus on. Let's see if that kills that. Nope, it is not that one. If it's this one, then. All right, let's get into this. I'm going to drop the. This is a big story, and I kind of want to. All right, let me just really quick say, Netflix is kind of taking a victory lap, thinking, "Oh, we figured out games, and now this is how we're going to do it." But I'm going to dump this and dump my share and talk about why this article, and I'll put the link to the article into the description, but why this is incorrect. What Netflix is saying, or excuse me, what The Verge is, who is the publisher of the article, what they're saying about Netflix figuring out gaming, streaming games, it's incorrect, and it's incorrect for maybe it is this article. No, it's incorrect, and I'm going to tell you why. So what basically The Verge is saying is that Netflix, we've got to figure it out. What we're going to do is, and really it's very similar to what Amazon Luna is doing, we're going to nerf our games. We're going to have games on the streaming service, but they're going to be not AAA quality games. They're going to be like Boggle and other party games, because the living room is where everyone congregates to watch the TV, and it has to be games that are anyone can watch the screen and play along with the crowd, right? And that is true. I mean, that's a lot of fun. We've played a lot of these games in our household based on the TV. But what they're forgetting is the consoles have been in living rooms since consoles were invented. Sitting down and watching somebody play Resident Evil 4 is something that people do. Talk to Twitch. Twitch will tell you this is something people do. So the living room isn't just for these party games. This idea that what Verge is kind of saying in the article is, the only way it's going to work that you're going to game in your living room is everyone is watching. It's a cooperative game, and everyone's kind of like partying around, because no one wants to walk through the living room and see a single person player game. But that's just not true. I mean, that's not been true since PlayStation 1 came out. There's a lot of fun to be had when you're sitting watching somebody else play a high quality game, even if you're not playing it, right? We used to back in the day when, gosh, this would have been Resident Evil 2, RE2, probably on PlayStation 1. I'm going back that far. We would hook it up to the surround sound. We would drop the lights. We would play. This is again my significant other and I, and just let the mood hit us, and we both jump. When the dogs would jump through the window, right? Everyone just jumps. And that's kind of a fun experience, right? It doesn't have to be just a simple party game that everyone's playing at the same time. Watching somebody play an intense experience in the living room is totally it's happened forever. So Netflix should kind of cool it a little bit on this idea that they figured out the living room gaming situation, and by saying that, it's all just like these nerfed games that are simple to play and not compute intensive. Not true. So what they're likely saying is we can't afford to stream AAA quality games, or we know there's going to be all the issues that every other centralized cloud streaming service has with lag and with cost, that they're not even going to try. They're going to, or I think they've dipped their toes in the water and then said, let's not do that. They released Stranger Things game, but again, it's kind of it's a pixelated 3/4 view adventure game. It's a nice looking game and everything, but they've also at the same time they've got that great Stranger Things VR experience, and that's super intense graphics. But they're saying they couldn't do that, or they wouldn't try to do that in the living room because no one would watch. I disagree entirely. I think you could get people to play that game. Could you afford it, and could the technology support it? Which again is what we do with our decentralized cloud network. So I appreciate Netflix or The Verge trying to support Netflix, and I'm sure they've got some kind of agreement that makes it sound like we're going to help you promote this streaming system that Netflix is putting up for their games. But they're missing a huge chunk of the gaming industry if they feel like this is going to be the solution for their cloud or for their cloud streaming, the cloud game streaming. All right, there was one other article, and again, this could be the article that was pinging my because of course it would be the last article that's doing it, and I because I closed that article, and now I'm going to try to bring it back up again, and we'll see if it we'll see if it turns my power supply into a smoking mess. Copy link, and let's do this. And all right, this is the concerning story. This is a story that kind of came across my feed just before I started, and yep, it is this article that's kind of lighting me up. All right, it would be the last one, wouldn't it? All right, I'm going to flash it on screen real quick, and then I'm going to take it down so that we can talk without having to listen to that annoying beep. There it is. So, Fortune magazine, Fortune.com. Nearly 50,000 Lake Tahoe residents have to find a new power source after their energy source looks to be redirected lines. After their energy source looks to redirect lines to data centers. Basically, I've read the whole article. What it's saying is, in Lake Tahoe, if you're not familiar with the U.S., Lake Tahoe is a very wealthy area, and people, a lot of money. It's a resort town, right? And what they're saying is that the company that supplies energy to it's a big mega corporation, supplies the energy to a smaller distributor who gives that power to the people of Lake Tahoe. That small distributor got an email from the big company that said, "Hey, you got about 6 months, and then we're going to take all this money, all this energy that we're giving to you, and we're pushing it over to this data center that just got built. So you guys have to find some other way to get energy out to your customers." So again, you might not use AI, or you may not be close to like a data center, and still get your either your energy prices spiked up, or in this case, taken away from you because of the data center, because of the centralized data centers who are doing the compute. And this is specifically for AI. But as we said over and over again, these data centers are competing for cycles for AI and for games. And to think that the games are going to win that battle, I got news for you. It's not going to happen. I think AI is going to win that battle. And gaming from a centralized cloud is just going to get more and more expensive and never really reach the promise of what it's supposed to do. But this idea, now we can call it compute gentrification. Gentrification, if you're not familiar with the term, what it means is, and it happens in real estate all the time, where speculators will go into an area and start buying up houses in a certain area and eventually price people who are living there out of the market. Like, now you can't buy a home in this area because the speculators have raised the cost of real estate in that area so much that people of low means can't get in there. And this is it's happening with compute. Now compute is getting gentrified. So again, we talk all the time. We talk often about what our system is, how it is different from the centralized model. Not just that it's less. Basically, what we do is we take the load that a centralized server would take, and we distribute it across a much wider network. So there's no single point that's draining all the power and all the compute into one spot. We allow it to be diffused over a larger map. And then on top of that, people who are operating on a node for our system, a nano device, they're getting paid. So not only are we not centralizing all the compute into one spot, we're also not centralizing all the revenue into one spot. We're taking that revenue and putting it back out into these local areas so that money, and again, in most cases, that money is going to go back into the gaming industry, because people who are operating our nanos are generally gamers themselves. They've got a gaming rig at home, and when they're not using it, they put their rig on our network, and we pay them to let us use their GPU cycles when it's not available, when they're not using it. And then that's passive income for them that they're likely to spend in either upgrading their hardware or buying more games for themselves and that kind of thing. So this idea of compute gentrification, and that's happening right now in Lake Tahoe, I would imagine, and this is the next step for me, I'm going to start putting an alert on data center news. You're going to start seeing these kinds of articles happening more and more. And I imagine what's going to happen is Lake Tahoe is the people who are supplying the power to Lake Tahoe, that smaller company, they're going to go out and find somebody else who can supply them power, but it's going to be at a jacked up price. And these folks who are living there are going to have to foot the bill for a data center that they may or may not ever access, and that they certainly didn't ask for. I know that I've already seen like a ton of articles that talk about how local communities are kind of up in arms and they're trying to push back, and they don't win these battles very often. This is a U.S. kind of, well, I find the U.S. articles about this. In other places around the world, the idea that you even have a chance to even voice your concern, I think, is less, in many places, less likely than here in the U.S. But even in the U.S., we don't get really much of a chance to push back. These are big companies who are making major moves because of the AI revolution, and it's affecting everybody. It's affecting you. So look out for more of these articles. If you find an article like this, please send it our way. We'll try to highlight it here on the town hall. And in general, if you have not yet done it, you should take a look at what our system does, what the YOM network does, and if you want to host, earn some passive income with the gaming rig you own, the equipment that you have, take the rig check. To do the rig check, it's on app.yom.net/rig check. Take the rig check and see if you could host a node in your area on your hardware and take some of that power away from these central data centers and put it back in your hands and earn yourself some passive income. All right. I have come to the end of my stories, and I apologize for so many hiccups tonight. That was a crazy amount. I was saying to myself earlier today about the, getting ready for this kind of an evening. I listen to a lot of different podcasts. Generally I don't listen to music very often at all. Generally, I'm just listening to some other podcast or another. Sometimes informational, sometimes entertainment. To be in the space where I get to have a small voice, right? We have a pretty big community. I should have pointed out, we have like 6 million impressions on our recent X post, which is just crazy. I guess what I come to find out is X has changed their algorithm to now boost communities, and we have a pretty active and excited community. And I would also tip my hat and say a very smart community. So X is helping us out and getting us in front of more people, but it's really because of all the work that you folks have done in your quests and dropping in our name many places, pumping out the pictures of Walter, linking back to our previous post, quote tweeting our tweets, and then commenting in our tweets. All this stuff has really been helpful to us. So I was reflecting that I have a chance to sit and talk with people. I would love to be able to do more or get more comments, more feedback from people. Live streaming is, to me, better than me pre-recording and putting it out, even though I have glitches like the power supply freaking out on me or not getting to drop the timer video like I normally do. I think even with all that stuff, I prefer to go live than pre-recorded, a lot of editing and snap cuts and all that stuff that people do. I just think it's more fun, especially if I get a live conversation going with people who are dropping comments. And there doesn't seem to be any questions. I know the question that's on everyone's minds, always all over our Telegram group, is when is TGE? Because people want to know. And again, when we know, we'll certainly get it out there. Right now, we're still dealing with all different contracts that we're negotiating with the central exchanges to make sure we get the right setup for everybody and for long-term health of the token. Because the one thing we don't like to do, we're very cautious about it. And we've seen 100 different projects do this, where they drop their token, it spikes and then crashes. And that would be really detrimental for our long-term plans. We're changing the gaming industry. That's the focus. The token is a vehicle for part of this, part of the equation. The technology is a bigger piece in my mind. So we're protective, and we want to make sure that the contracts we set up are appropriate for ourselves, for our network and our technology, and for our community. So again, please allow us to, I appreciate the patience, but please allow us to do this the right way. JLo agrees. It says live stream is better, and I appreciate that, JLo. One of the things that I know that a lot of the other live streams I watch, to be fair, so I watch a lot of podcasts. My big one is weather. I'm just a huge weather geek. And there's a guy who does like a weather, whenever there's violent weather in the States, he goes live, and he'll go live for like 12 hours covering tornadoes coming in and out. And one of the things that he does there is he oftentimes will ask, like, where's everybody coming from? So I have to remember to do that too, and kind of ask people in the community, in the chat, just drop where you're listening from, like what place in the world, because I know our community is pretty wide. Because I'd be very curious to see. And even, if you're watching this later on and you're just watching it on X, or because X gets the biggest watch, drop your location as long into your response to the video. I'd like to see if we can get an understanding of which, because we do 2 different time zones. On Wednesdays, I do it at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and then on Fridays, I do it at noon Eastern time. So I'd be curious about who listens or what parts of the world are tuning in live, and then tuning in into the recording from the Wednesday show and then from the Friday show. So if you're watching this on either of those, just drop a location. It doesn't have to be exact location. Don't give me a street address or anything like that. But let me know what country you're listening to the stream from, or listening to the rebroadcast from. I'd be very curious. All right. Again, a push for app.yom.net/rig check. If you've done the rig check once before and you found out that, hey, my system can't handle it, do it again. We've revamped the rig check to be more inclusive and to be more thorough. It'll give you an estimate about how much money you could be earning per month. If you're curious about what you want to do passive income, there's a lot of different variables in that, including how long per day or per week that you want to that you're going to be running your system. That'll affect your earnings estimate. But anyways, there's a lot there. So run that check. JLo is calling from the Baltics. From what I understand, a beautiful area. I mean, there's a lot going on in Europe right now that it's got, a lot of reasons to be concerned, but I'm a huge fan of old architecture, and I think that all the Baltics as well, but all of Europe is kind of great for that kind of thing. All right. Thanks everybody again for tuning in. I'm going to jump off and find out if there's a better way for me to handle this power supply issue. It's a late night for you. I'd have to imagine it's got to be it's got to be past midnight, right? At this time in the Baltics. I could probably look that up, couldn't I? Map. And I'm going to do this. We'll do it live. I'll close you. Yeah. No, that's not what I'm looking for. So it's 3 a.m. Goodness, JLo, what are you doing awake at 3 a.m? I appreciate it. Please tell me you work like a swing shift or something like that, because this is too late in the day. 2:30. Yep. I say this, of course, but then I start my day local time at about 3:30 every morning too. So I'm there with you, JLo. But that's my early morning, not my late night. So I hope that you can stay up only for this broadcast, and I hope that the information I dropped about the data centers is as concerning to you as it is to me, and hopefully to everybody else. Okay. And JLo, if everyone's wondering who I'm talking to, JLo's on YouTube. He's not watching on X. So if you're on X and wondering who am I speaking about, I'm speaking about JLo. And there is a way to show the comments on the stream. I should have. Yeah, look at that. There it is. Next time I broadcast, I'm going to bring up the comments on the screen so you guys can see who I was talking to else. And then you can all see the thousands of times people ask when TGE, because it's generally, especially on Fridays, it happens a lot. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We're going to be back on Friday. So in 2 days at noon Eastern Standard Time. That's a better time for JLo. That'll be about, it's about 5 hours to 7 hours. That would be about 7 p.m. for you. That a better time, JLo, for you to kind of tune in. And we'll talk more about the project and some of the updates we have on the project side. Some stuff is coming up pretty exciting, and I'm looking forward to. It's going to actually add another event for me into my schedule, but I'm kind of stoked for it. This is going to be a good one. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll talk again soon in a couple of days. Be good to yourself. Be good to your other people. Drink lots of water. Get some rest. Tell someone that you love them, and don't take it all too seriously, but be concerned about the